to install RetroPie 4.4 onto a Raspberry Pi. So the Raspberry Pi that I will be using is the 3 Model B. They have RetroPie on their website 4.0 through 3. They currently do not support the newest Raspberry Pi 4, which I don't think is even being sold currently at this time. Anyway, so first thing you're going to need is the actual Raspberry Pi computer. Next thing you're going to need is a micro SD card. I would prefer 32 gig or bigger. 16 gig is okay too, but 16 gig and pretty much anything below is going to limit you on how many games you can actually put on your RetroPie. So 32 is pretty optimal for what I have. Next thing you're going to need is a controller. I'm using a Logitech USB controller that's hardwired. You can also use wireless controllers such as the Xbox 360 controller or the DualShock PlayStation controllers. Those will use the Bluetooth setting, so I'm not sure how that's going to interfere with like other wireless connectivity and stuff to like your Wi-Fi router and stuff. I haven't tried that yet. I'm just using a wired controller. Next thing you're going to need is a flash drive. Flash drive is going to be used for transferring files from your main computer to your Raspberry Pi, the video game files and whatnot that you download. Next thing you're going to need is a power source for the Raspberry Pi itself. Then you are going to need some type of data transfer device for the SD card, the micro SD card. So I have two of them. I have an actual micro SD to SD card adapter, and then I have the USB flash drive adapter for the micro SD card. Most computers, modern day wise, come with SD card readers built into them, so you may not have a use for the USB one, but I was transferring files and stuff from Raspberry Pi to Raspberry Pi, and the Raspberry Pi does not have a built-in SD card reader, so I was using the flash drive one that came with it. The next thing you're going to need is a keyboard. I'm using a Logitech keyboard with a trackpad built into it. You don't necessarily need a mouse or a trackpad. Most of the menu options that you're going to be going through are up and down arrows and left and right arrows. And then the last and final thing that I do not have actually on here is a display, so that you can actually see what you're doing and play your games and stuff. The display I'm going to be using is my 42-inch TV. Alright, so I apologize for the audio and the equipment portion of this video. I definitely was recording off of the audio off of my webcam rather than the headset microphone, so that was really weird. It sounded like I was talking in a fishbowl, so that was really awkward. Hopefully this fixed that issue. Alright, so we're going to need to download a couple things here. First off, the actual RetroPie OS. This can be found on retropie.org. I will include all these links in the description of this video as well. Next thing we're going to need is the SD memory card formatter. This is a program that's actually going to wipe our SD card completely so that there's nothing on it and we can put a fresh install of the RetroPie operating system. And then you're going to get this BalenaEtcher. This BalenaEtcher is the software that will actually burn the image onto the SD card. I have no clue if I actually pronounced that right. I don't know what that says. It says Balena to me, and I've been pronouncing it that way the whole time. Anyway, so with this specific website, if you're running it on Internet Explorer, all it will do if you go to this website is come up with this screen for half a second, and then it will just go to a white screen. For some reason, I don't know if it's because of this .io extension. I have no clue why it does that, but for some reason it doesn't work, so I'll be using this off of Firefox for this, but I will include an alternate to getting around that issue if you are running Internet Explorer. It'll be 2 additional links in the description, so make sure you look for those. Alright, so we're going to go to our RetroPie and scroll down a little bit, and you will see 2 different download buttons. The first one is Raspberry Pi 01 and Raspberry Pi 23. So we are running Raspberry Pi 3 Model B, so we will be downloading off of this link. I have already downloaded all these programs and already ran the setups for all of them, so I'm already good to go on that. So I'm just showing you where to get them. Next one, the SD memory card formatter. Make sure that your system is under one of these. We are actually running Windows 8 for this video here, so that falls under there. Should be good to go. These are the download buttons down here, so you have Windows and Mac, so just click on that and just put it on your desktop. Alright, and then the BalenaEtcher software, so download button right here. This is specifically for Windows. If you hit the drop down menu, it will give you it for either Mac or Windows. You don't really need to worry about the Linux one, because we're not going to be running Linux, especially with the SD memory card formatter, as there's no Linux version for that. Alright, so once we have everything downloaded and installed and everything, these are the two icons for the programs and then the actual operating system. So it is RetroPie 4.4 that's the current image as of the recording of this video. And then our BalenaEtcher is going to actually put the image onto an SD card. Our SD card formatter is going to completely wipe our SD card. So we'll go ahead and insert our SD card into our computer, and we'll go ahead and format it and get it all set up. Alright, now that we have all of our programs installed and set up, so we inserted our SD card, so this is our SD card here. We are going to format it, so you're going to open up the SD card formatter, and it will come up with this window. Make sure that these match. You definitely want those to match, so we are specifically formatting the SD card. Not my flash drive that I have plugged in, but the SD card. So verify your capacity. This is a 32 gig SD card. It's going to have a little bit less capacity due to other software stuff that's involved in the SD cards. Quick format. And the volume label doesn't really matter what you put it as. You can name it whatever you want. So we're going to call it Bob, because this is going to be overwritten anyway when we actually do the etching and install RetroPie onto there. Go ahead and hit format. Whoa, that was loud. Okay, and then go ahead and hit yes on the little warning thing. And there you go. Now it's done. Simple as that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close this out. Just verify that it has actually removed everything. If you have hidden files turned on, it's going to put a system volume information in there anyway. Unless you're on Mac, I don't think it will do that. But okay, so we're good. We got our SD card completely erased. Next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and add a RetroPie to it. So I'm going to open up the BalenaEtcher and go ahead and select image. You're going to select your RetroPie image. Verify that your SD card is what you actually want it to be as. So we have ours in the H drive, so that's good to go. And then just go ahead and flash. Go ahead and hit yes on your admin rights. And this one takes a little while. It takes about 5 minutes or so. So yeah, we'll just wait.
2 hours later.
Okay, once your SD card has been burned with the new image, it's going to ask you if you want to flash another. You don't need to do that, so just go ahead and close out that window. Now, it's going to actually unmount the SD card. So to verify that everything is good to go ahead and take out your SD card and then put your SD card back in. Alright, and then here's our SD card here. You'll notice it'll say somewhere around 50 or so megabytes, which is really small. The rest of that information has been taken up by the Linux system. So open it up, and here's all your files in here. So one thing to note is whenever you're putting or whenever you're going to put games and stuff onto here, you can't just drag and drop games into here. That's definitely not going to work due to the fact that this is set up for Linux and we're running on Windows operating system. So it's a little bit different the way that we're going to do it. It's pretty simple. I'll go ahead and show you that later on. But first we're going to put this in our Raspberry Pi, and we're going to actually set everything up and get everything set up for initial use. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Alright, so we've thrown our SD card into our Raspberry Pi. We got the HDMI cable hooked up to our display. We have the wireless dongle there on the right, and then on the left is our Logitech USB controller. So we're going to boot this thing up and see if we did everything correctly. Alright, let's go ahead and plug it in. Here's our splash screen. So the splash screens later on you can change if you want to. You can download them off of like the repository that they have. There's like 285 of them or something, but you can also add your own if you want to. So if you create an account on here, you'll have like a login and password on this screen here, but since this is a fresh install, we're not going to have anything like that. So. Alright, so here we are in RetroPie. So the only thing we can do is go to the actual configuration manager. So I guess I logged into this previously. I haven't done any configurations or anything, but so whenever you first come onto here, the first thing it's going to come up with should be this. So it'll ask you for configuring input. So go ahead and hold the A button on your controller, and then you just go through and select all the keys for your controller to set it up. Okay, so our gamepad is good to go now. Alright, so we can go into the configuration, and here's all the RetroPie options. So probably first thing you're going to want to do is set up the Wi-Fi. If you try to set up the Wi-Fi through this menu option, it's going to tell you that you have to go through the actual RasPie config. Reason being is it has a weird localization issue or whatever, so you have to put like your country code and keyboard layout and stuff like that. So you can go ahead and set up the Wi-Fi through that. RetroArch is going to be your actual like thing where you configure everything essentially. So for all your games and whatnot. RetroArch NetPlay, so you can do like online play over the internet for various game systems. I haven't tested this out yet. I'm actually going to test this out on this specific Raspberry Pi with one of the other ones I already have set up as well, so we're going to see how that works. Splash screens, here you can download other ones and change them. You can also do the same for the emulation station themes. So it'll change like the borders and stuff and how everything works and stuff. Some of them are pretty cool, so you can go through and download those. So once you get your IP address and everything is set up on your router, you can hit the show IP and it will display whatever the IP address is for your Raspberry Pi. This is going to be pretty useful for the RetroArch NetPlay if you want somebody else to connect to your Raspberry Pi to do online multiplayer. Your file manager, you can go through and edit your files and stuff. It's kind of confusing and difficult. I mean, I guess if you're already good at Linux, you don't really need to worry about it. I'm not that great at Linux, so I kind of had an issue with setting some of the stuff up. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You got your Bluetooth setting for setting up your wireless controllers and stuff. Like I said previously, I don't know how that's going to interfere with your actual wireless capabilities and stuff for connecting to your Wi-Fi. So I don't know how that affects it or anything, but I guess you guys can test that out and let me know. Yeah, that's pretty much doing that. That's just a basic configuration. So I think the next thing we'll go over is actually putting some games on this thing and getting it up and running. So we'll go ahead and do that now.
Okay, so at this point we have covered the equipment that you're going to need for this, the actual downloading of RetroPie and burning it onto the SD card, and putting the SD card into our Raspberry Pi for initial setup. So, next thing you're going to do, or the last thing rather, is actually put some games on it so that it's actually more than just a media player. So, first thing you're going to do, take your flash drive and plug it into your computer. I've already done this, and I've already put some games and stuff on here, so mine's already set up, but make sure that your flash drive is completely empty and there's nothing on it. Go ahead and open up your flash drive, and you're going to want to create a new folder and name it RetroPie, all lowercase. So this is the only thing you need to do on this part. From here you're going to take out your SD card, or not SD card, the flash drive. And you're going to take your flash drive and plug it into your Raspberry Pi that has RetroPie running on it. once you plug it in, the actual, like, if it's a flash drive that has the light on it, the light's gonna flash, and that's actually going to put all this information on there, put these folders. So just wait until the light's done flashing. Shouldn't take very long. It's all these folders are going to be empty that it's putting on there. So once the light stops flashing on your flash drive, go ahead and remove it from your Raspberry Pi, put it back in your computer, open it all back up, and you should have these folders on here. So all of our games are going to go into our ROMs folder. From here, you can select whichever one you want. So, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, NES, PlayStation 1. So depending on what game system you're going to do is going to be a specific type of format for that file. So say, for example, Nintendo 64. A lot of these are going to end in N64 or Z64 format for these. So let's see some other ones here. Game Boy Advance. All your Game Boy Advance games are going to be in the zip folders themselves. So it's not going to be like inside of them is an actual GBA file. You're not going to want to extract that. You're going to want to leave it in the zip folder. That's how the emulator is going to read those. For PlayStation, however, PlayStation is going to be a bin and queue file. So those you'll download them in .rar or .zip folder. So just go ahead and extract those two files and put those within the PlayStation folder. So yeah, I've already done that. I had this over here as an example for what you'll download it as something, some type of zip format or something, and then you would just extract them, bin and queue, and drag and drop them over to here. That's pretty much it for that. And then I guess if you have BIOS or whatever, I know like PlayStation requires BIOS, but it is illegal to download the BIOSes. You actually need to have a PlayStation console to extract that from. And then you can use that BIOS from your PlayStation console. So I haven't really done much with the configs folder. I've kind of written my own configurations and just stuffed them on there. So haven't had a use to transfer them via the flash drive. I've just actually put them onto the RetroPie itself. So, but that should about cover it for that. All right, so that about covers setting up RetroPie. Real basic setup. I didn't do too much. If you guys want, let me know in the comments. I can do some additional videos for like various little tweaks and stuff, and how to set certain game systems up to work properly and stuff. I know the Nintendo 64 one kind of has some issues sometimes, depending on how you configure it. So, but I can do videos on those if you guys want. But I guess let me know if you want anything else. Maybe a less annoying intro song, or maybe my monotone voice. That's probably not going to change, so can't really help you there. But yeah, just let me know what you guys want, and we'll see you next time.